Hey there, everyone. How are you? I'm trying to get back into this YouTube groove. Chemotherapy, it's kind of hard though. This week, I want to talk about my diagnosis. So, the UTI track basically got me started, which got me into primary care doctor, which then sent me on to the gynecologist who did a biopsy, and it took forever. It took like a week for it to come back. But the thing was, there wasn't enough living tissue for them to say yes or no to cancer. So I had to go back in for another biopsy, which luckily, which is easy to do since, they're accessing through the vagina. And the cancer tumors don't have any nerves, so it doesn't hurt to have it done. It's minimally invasive, basically. So having to go back was annoying and, yes, painful because everything hurt down there at that point. Everything hurt at that point. It was getting to the point where there was always pain, and sitting up was becoming really difficult at that point in time. So I had a second biopsy, and she got a hunk the size of a grape. She said, I did not see it. Or did it? No, I did see it. She did. And sent that in, which came back positive for cancer, which was a total bummer. I mean, fibroids was bad enough because surgery, it didn't really matter what my diagnosis was, I was having surgery. It just was a matter of what kind, if I could have punch a hole, laparoscopic surgery where they put little holes in your abdomen, which even if it wasn't cancer, it was still too big. I would have had to go to Billings anyways to have it done, and since it was cancer, I immediately kicked to Billings because that's where oncology is. So, well, didn't think I'd get this emotional doing this one. This is happening really fast. This all happened really fast. And it's like UTI, primary care, and then, October was a sick month, and by November, I was going through all getting, the confirmation. When they first got confirmation, they weren't sure if it was ovarian cancer or cervical cancer, because when she went to do a pap smear, she couldn't see my cervix. So, yeah, that got scrapped. No pap smear for me, because it turned out to be cervical and uterine cancer. I have a fast-growing cervical cancer and a slower-growing uterine one, which is gone because it was just confined to the uterus. So, yeah. But what happened after that is then I had an MRI scan. Oh my God, very long MRI scan. I was in there about an hour, and the people who do the imaging are like, yeah, that was a long one. And I think I fell asleep at one point in the MRI, even with all the noise, because I was in there a long time ago. I just didn't have a lot of blood. I didn't have a lot of hemoglobin either. So, yeah. So, because when they came to do because I had it without contrast, and then I had it with contrast. And they do all that without contrast first, obviously, because, you can't take the contrast out for the MRI. And then when the guy came and touched me because my eyes are closed, and I think I was sleeping when you did, because I kind of went, ooh. But yeah, I spent most of the MRI trying to identify, because what it reminds me of is how you separate out the tracks from a song, and there's just this one track. That's what it reminded me of. So I was identifying who would this go for? There was a lot of industrial kind of noises for me on the MRI I had. So yeah, who is this big go? This is ministry, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I spent a lot of time identifying what do I think this track of the MRI would be. Who would use this? And I do think I fell asleep at one point. So I had an MRI to do that, and then I also had a PET scan. And everyone with the PET scan made a big deal about the peeing thing, which I did not feel that time. I have felt that sensation later on, it doesn't really feel like you're peeing yourself because it starts at your head. It's like this wave of heat goes down and kind of dissipates by the time it hits your pelvic area. Because it kind of does feel like you're peeing. It's just kind of a weird sensation. But everyone went on about the PET scan and not, yay, runny nose, peeing yourself from the contrast. And what no one went on about is you don't get food. After 6 p.m., pretty much no food for you. No water for you. No one went on about the no food thing. Really, if you're going to get a PET scan, you want it in the frickin' morning because, yeah, by the time I had mine done, it was like 23 hours without food. Because I ate my dinner, and then I didn't eat anything after dinner. Because I didn't want to screw this scan up. I was allowed an egg and water at like 7 a.m. Which, frankly, kind of sounded vomit-inducing. There's no toast to go with your egg. There's no coffee. There's no juice. There's just egg and water. I did not eat the egg and water for breakfast. Luckily, I wasn't super hungry anyways because of the pain. Yeah. So, basically, I had like that. These were all done within, the MRI was the week before, I think. Everything happened really fast after I got my diagnosis. Everyone pushed to get me in. So, got the PET scan, which, even in my not really hungry state, I was really hungry by the time I was almost 24 hours fasted. So, yeah, had some snacks in the car. So if you're having a PET scan, bring snacks because you will want them afterwards. You will be very hungry, especially if you had an afternoon one like I did. So it was like in the afternoon. So it was like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock somewhere. I don't know. Between 4 and 5 where I finally got to break my fast and eat something. So, yeah. You might feel like you pee yourself because of the contrast. I did not with that one. I have in later scans, but yeah. But you don't get food. No food for you. Then it was to the oncologist. It's like that, and then 3 days later I went down in Billings talking to the gynecologist. She did the whole checkup thing. Yep. And then we scheduled surgery. So yeah. It went fast. And typically they would run chemo first and try and shrink the tumor down before they did surgery. But because I was so anemic and in pain, they decided surgery was best to do first. So yeah, it was a lot. And it happened really fast. And thankfully, the weather cooperated in all the driving we had to do from Livingston to Billings. So, yeah. So that's how I got diagnosed. It was fast. It was like bam, bam, bam. I was really hoping it was just stupid fibroids, but it wasn't. So, yeah, that's my diagnosis story. So, yeah, interesting or not interesting. But, yeah, I feel like there's not enough of the actual, like, this is what happens when you get cancer talked about. There's a lot of, like, because pretty much prior to this, movies and TV shows and my grandma. And that was a long time ago. So the therapies have changed a lot since she had cancer. So, yeah. It's a lot different than when I was growing up even. So, yeah. So don't think just because, oh my God, I got cancer, you're really screwed. But with the diagnosis, it also turned up in my lymph nodes before I forget. So I had large lymph nodes, and obviously no one could see my cervix because it had cancer hanging off it, which also explained why sometimes the menstrual cup that I was using didn't adhere properly because it was not adhering to the. I was using up into the point where things got too painful in with the tumor because it would press down. It was like the size of a grapefruit, so it would press down on everything. So sitting really hurt towards the end there before surgery, and really the only way was lying down was the only thing that was comfortable at that point. So there's a lot of pain. So, and I had pain pills to deal with the driving to Bozeman and the driving to Billings in the same week, which oddly enough, the shorter drive turned out to be the more painful of the two. But yeah, and I couldn't take anything because no food, PET scan. I wish people would have harped about the no food more. But yeah, there's not enough talk about it. And that's part of the reason why I'm sharing this story. And that's how I got diagnosed with cancer. Yeah, not what you want to hear. Okay, I'm going to leave you now and stop tearing up. Have a wonderful day and go out there and be the love in the world.